Hello, this is Teslon. I'm in my garage with my VK2801 Cougar, remaking a YouTube I have, a frequently requested YouTube, on my crew skills and tank build out. I noticed just today that I made a mistake in talking about my skills on the other one, so I'm redoing it today. The most important thing on this thing, well, before I even get into that, let me say this. If you don't have a 2801 and you're looking to buy one, or you just recently purchased a 2801 and you're still just in the middle of building it out or just starting to build it out, do not evaluate its potential until you have the equipment elited and you're well into your way on your second crew skill. Because until you reach that point, you're not going to be able to see this tank shine in a manner in which it's capable of. So until you get it started well into building it out, don't judge its performance, or you may end up throwing away what is one of the best tanks in World of Tanks. The most important piece of equipment you can put on this tank is sitting right here in the middle of the screen, and that is this gun, the 105mm derp cannon. If anybody tries to convince you that the 7.5 centimeter is the better choice as a weapon, run away from them as fast as you can and do not listen to anything else they ever say about the tank, because they have no idea what they're talking about when it comes to a 2801. The 105 defines this tank. It elevates what would otherwise be just a normal scout into being one of the best tanks in the entire game. The rest of your equipment, you're going to want to get your tracks upgraded first so that you can carry the additional weight of the second turret, which you need to mount the 105. When you mount your second turret, you're going to see your hit points increase from 560 to 610, and your view range bop up to 390 meters, which is it's not the best for a scout, but it's very workable for a scout. Throw in your crew skills and you're going to have more view range than you need. And then finally, you want the top radio for the radio range when you're out behind enemy lines. It's important that you get that information back to your team. Modules, I run a rammer. With my skills and other equipment, it gives me a 6.60 second reload. Vents for the overall across the board improvement in performance. And optics. Now, there are going to be several times in this film, especially when I get to crew skills, where I may say something that some of you will disagree with and say, oh, this is a better choice or that's a better choice. And here's one of those times. It's all a matter of personal preference, and as you read other guides on this tank or equipment and skills in general, if there's a significant disagreement, then try both sides of the story out and see which one you like the best. Whatever works the best for you is what you should have. Optics or binoculars, an age-old debate on scouts. The way I look at it is, what am I going to be doing the most during a battle? Am I going to be sitting still, where binoculars are better? Or am I going to be moving, where coated optics are better, because binoculars don't help me when I'm moving? And in the end, once my tank is built out, once I'm playing the tank fully up to its potential, I am going to be moving more often than I'm going to be sitting still. So optics becomes the better choice for my final build out. Now, that said, if the tank's still new to you, especially if you don't have the 105 mounted yet, if your crew skills don't exist yet, binoculars may be the better choice to start. But as you max out all this equipment over here, as you get camouflage and start working on the second skill, and you start being able to utilize the full potential of the vehicle, optics becomes the better long-term choice. It's going to help you more often than binoculars, and by the time you get Recon, situational awareness on your tank, you're already going to have extremely viable view range just by running optics. Ammo. I run 32 HE, 10 heat, 0 AP. And some of you may be wondering how I got HE over here in the default ammo position. I have another YouTube called How to Change Your Default Ammo. It explains how to do it. It's a very simple process, and by switching the order of my ammo, I put the ammo that I use most frequently, HE, into position 1 here, and it automatically loads when I start a battle. I don't have to remember to switch from AP to HE at the beginning of every battle. It's just already there for me. Very simple to do. Go watch the video if you don't know how to do it. I keep 10 heat on board because almost every battle I switch to heat at least once. Overall, I tend to use HE against lightly armored targets because it has potential for up to 513 damage. Heat has better penetration, but it has potential only up to 438 damage. So a big boom gives me more damage with HE than heat. I only switch to heat when I have that additional penetration is going to give me a big boom. And that is against targets like Cromwell's. A 105 in heat, it turns this tank into a Cromwell killer. Cromwell B, it doesn't matter. You can take him out with 2 shots. The Cromwell can't come close to killing you that fast. Against Cromwells, against KV-1s on the sides and rears, against ISs in the back, especially shoot down in the lower part of their back, against T-29s and a bunch of other tanks that have kind of medium armor on the sides and backs, heat will give you greater damage more consistently than HE. Now against the heavily armored tanks, I switch back to HE. So against the T-95, against the Moss, against the E-100, tanks like that, the larger heavy tanks, I fire HE at them because getting consistent small amounts of damage is much preferred to just watching your heat bounce off them shot after shot. Consumables, in position 4 I have the small first aid kit, so I can press 4-4, rehabilitate my driver. Don't want to sit still because I have nobody driving the tank. Position 5, small repair kit, I want to be able to press 5-5, fix my tracks, get underway again. Dead scouts are not good, and if you're tracked, if your driver's dead and he can barely move, you're going to be dead before long. So in both positions, that's emergency fix ability. Position 5 or position 6, automatic fire extinguishers. Here's another debatable one. Some people are going to advocate running chocolate here. I have approximately 2,000 chocolates in my depot. I've experimented with it multiple times, and I find that the small performance boosts I get from running chocolate pretty much the same as having vents. With what I already have on my tank, doesn't help me anywhere near as much as running automatic fire extinguishers for a couple different reasons. Number one, automatic fire extinguisher reduces my chance of catching on fire by 10%, or increases my fire protection by 10%, which is a good thing. Fires are bad, especially in tanks without very many hit points. Number two, because of the fact that wargaming puts the alarm for being on fire at the very last of all the different warnings you get, by the time you realize you're on fire and go to press your button for the manual fire extinguisher, many times you've already taken 4 or 5 ticks of fire dot, which is just unacceptable, and it leads to you dying too many times. So automatic fire extinguishers work when you catch on fire. The fire dot ticks 1 time, and then the automatic fire extinguisher puts it out. Much preferred to me because I don't like fires killing me. And I can't, because of that, I can take and demote firefighting skill in the priority of skills, so I can take it near the last of all my crew positions, and it allows me to take something more beneficial and elevate its position in the order of training. In my 46-some thousand battles of this tank, I can literally count on one hand the number of times I've ever caught on fire twice in one battle. Exceedingly rare occurrence. So because of that, automatic fire extinguishers are much preferable for me. Like I said, some people prefer chocolate. Try them both out. See what you like. but I'm telling you how I built my tank and why I made these decisions. So I can put firefighting down toward the bottom of the list of crew skills. Let's look at crew skills and see what I took and why. Now, when the additional crew skills first came out, because long ago we only had camouflage, firefighting, and repairs. That was the only three choices. Once you trained all those, there was nothing left to train. When they added all the additional crew skills and perks, I was already well into progress on my fourth skill. I already had the XP required to be up around 80 to 85% of my fourth skill. So even though I'm going to tell you what order I took my first three skills in reality, I already had them when we were able to pick more than three skills. So just a little truth in advertising there. I'm telling you the order I would have taken them in had I had to pick. I start off with camouflage, and then once it's trained 100%, I switch it out for 6 cents, take camouflage again for my second skill. As a scout, you want to not be seen. It's what keeps you alive into the middle and latter stages of the battle, where your value as a tank just exponentially increases. After camouflage, for the third skill, I took Recon, and I realized that doesn't give me quite the view range boost that Brothers in Arms would, because Recon provides a 2.0% boost. Brother in Arms would be approximately 2.2%. Giving up that 0.2% was preferable to me because it allowed me to take the agility based skills for my driver. Back in that time, the 2801 was notorious for being sluggish, in turns especially, and so it had sluggish acceleration, sluggish turning, and I preferred the increased agility over 0.2% boost in view range, which really only works out to a couple meters. So I took Recon third and Brothers in Arms fourth. Following that, I took Jack of Trades and then Eagle Eye. Now, if I had to do that again, if I was building my BK2801 right now, I would take Eagle Eye fifth before Jack of all Trades, because of the fact that Eagle Eye lets me see what modules and crew positions are hurt on an enemy tank after it sits still for a while. I think it's like 6 seconds before it turns in. I can't remember, it's been so long since I looked at it. Takes a while for it to kick in, but you will find in the course of many battles that you have the opportunity to sit in one place if you're well hidden, well positioned using bushes and concealment, that you can sit in one place and pour multiple shots into an enemy tank without fear of taking return fire. Eagle Eye is very beneficial in situations like that because it allows you to see whether the enemy tank is tracked or not. And so it allows you to adjust your aim spot on the enemy tank to keep the enemy permanently tracked so your teammates can take him out while you, let's see, hey, his tracks are red, I can switch and shoot for his cupula and go for bigger damage. I can shoot for his engine compartment and try to cause a fire and get big damage. Or I can just shoot for someplace else on the tank, depending on what I see, where I can get more damage than simply shooting his tracks is going to do. I don't have to just sit there and mindlessly pour shots into his tracks. As long as his tracks are red, I shoot at a more juicy part on his tank and go for better damage or module damage. And then when I see him fix his tracks, I quick put one back in his tracks and track him again. So it's very beneficial at a higher level of play. And from there, I go on to repairs, firefighting, and finally I'm working on Mentor. I'm up to 61% on Mentor currently. Mentor at this point being totally ridiculous. It just doesn't help me at all. There were times when I was training, particularly like my 6th, 7th, 8th skills, where I'd run Mentor on my on the CO and then switch it back out, because you end up needing a ridiculous number of games when you get up toward like the 80 to 90%. Right now at 61%, I needed over 400 games to advance 1% of training. By the time you get into the upper levels of it, like say my 7th skill, it was like 1,500 games just to get the last percent. Of my 8th skill, it was like 3,000. Of this skill, I'm going to be over, I don't even know how much it's going to be by the time I get to the end, but it's a the last 10% is a ridiculous amount of XP required. And so I would have Mentor running just to try to speed that up. But it really doesn't matter that much. They've done studies on it. At low levels of training, Mentor really doesn't help you very much. It just saves you a couple battles. It's not worth it. Go for something that helps you in battle. And as you can see, I saved it for really my last skill to actually work on it for good. My gunner, Hauptmann Gunther Volz, started off with Camouflage, and then he took Designated Target. Here's another one people would debate. How useful is Designated Target? Critics say that, well, it doesn't help you that much because you have to be within 10% of your reticle for it to kick in. And my response to that is like, but the tank I'm shooting at is always within 10 degrees of my reticle. I can't shoot at it if it's not within 10 degrees of my reticle. I want it to stay lit up for 2 additional seconds because it's going to let me put another shot on the tank. And all my teammates are going to get to do that too. And a lot of times, there's multiple tanks sitting within that 20 degrees that constitute the arc that's within 10 degrees of my reticle, because it's 10 degrees on each side of my reticle. Well, a lot of times it lets me keep more than one tank lit up for an additional 2 seconds. And that's beneficial. I like it. If you don't like it, put it down farther down the list. But personally, it helps me land a lot more shots. So I had it second. Third, because of the drop off in usability of the additional skills, I took Repairs. A lot of people would take Snapshot here. The way I fire on the move, I very rarely take a shot where I'm moving my turret while I fire, so Snapshot doesn't help me that much. I fix my turret at the location that I wanted, at the direction I wanted pointed, and then I drive that aiming point past the enemy tank and fire as I go by. So Snapshot doesn't help me when I fire like that. Fourth, I took Brother in Arms to be consistent with my other crew skills and my other crew positions. And then fifth, I took Snapshot. Then I took Armorer, then Firefighting, and finally Deadeye, because when you're firing your default load of HE, Deadeye doesn't help you. Doesn't help with HE at all. For my driver, Hauptmann Matthaus Maurer, started off with Camouflage. And again, back then, agility was a real issue with 2801, so I took off-road driving second. I would still do that today with a 2801. I prefer off-road driving over clutch braking. Here's another debate point amongst a lot of drivers of Scouts. Which one's better? Off-road driving helps me 100% of the time I am off a hard road, because it reduces terrain resistance. It helps me accelerate faster, helps me turn better. Whereas clutch braking only helps me traverse my tank faster. Therefore, to me, off-road driving is a little bit better than clutch braking. Took clutch braking third, Brother in Arms fourth. After that, I went for Smooth Ride, because I do shoot on the run. And it's not very accurate shooting on a run with the 105 and the 2801, but any increase in performance helps me a little bit, so I took that. Then I took Preventive Maintenance. I don't want to catch on fire. I don't want to get ammo wrecked. And finally, there I took Controlled Impact. Even though at the moment I'm second on the entire server in Kamikazes, I don't advocate running around ramming, and I don't advocate taking Controlled Impact as one of your high priority skills. You only have so many hit points, and unless you're running over an ELC AMX, ramming causes damage. Damage that most often you would have been better to avoid taking and just shot the guy instead. So just take that as a caveat and use it for whatever it's worth. I took Controlled Impact next to last, and I'm second on the server in Kamikaze medals. Finally, on this tank, Firefighting, because again, I don't catch on fire and I have automatic fire extinguishers. Radio operator, Oberleutnant Heinrich Eichel. The RO has the least number of valuable skills. Camouflage first, situation awareness second. Gives me a 3.0% boost in view range, and that's what it's all about with the Scout. Brother in Arms fourth. Then you rapidly run out of things that make any sense to take. Repairs fifth. Then I took signal boosting, relaying, firefighting, and finally the most worthless skill in World of Tanks, Call for Vengeance. When all these skills first came out, people like Quickie Baby advocated taking Call for Vengeance. It's great as a Scout. No. It's horrible as a Scout. Don't take it. You almost don't even want to take it at the end, but you have to. You have to train something. I ran the math on this thing. If you give it every possible benefit of the doubt along the way, it ends up helping you less than 0.5% of the time you are in battle. And it really doesn't help you, because in order for it to kick in, you're dead. So it helps your team less than 0.5% of the time they are in battle. And when you actually do it in a realistic way and not give it every possible benefit of the doubt, you're probably looking on something on the order of it helping your team 0.0002% of the time they're in battle, which makes it next to worthless. Don't take it. Don't take it unless it's the last thing you have left. Loader, Oberleutnant Gotthold Schwedler. Camouflage first. He ended up taking safe stowage second. Here's another position that doesn't have a lot of great skills to pick from. And I don't like to catch on fire. I don't like to blow up. If I took safe stowage second. I took repairs third. And then Brothers in Arms fourth. Obviously, if you're going to not worry about your driver agility skills and you move BIA up to the third position, then you would bump repairs down to fourth place. And then I took Adrenaline Rush, Intuition, and Firefighting. Maybe Intuition might help you more than Adrenaline Rush, hard to say. I do find Intuition useful. It basically lets you trade out ammo with no reload penalty. 17% of the time you switch ammo. And with me switching from HE back to heat every once in a while, I do find occasions where it is beneficial. And Adrenaline Rush doesn't help me as much. So if I did it again, I would probably take Intuition, then Adrenaline Rush, then Firefighting. Adrenaline Rush means you're almost dead. It only kicks in when you have less than 10% of your hit points left. Very helpful when it kicks in because it cuts down your reload time. But hopefully you don't spend too many fights where you're running around the battle with hardly any hit points left. Just doesn't happen a lot. Whereas Intuition could potentially help you every battle. So I think on second thought, if I did it again, I would take Camouflage, Safe Stowage, Repairs, Brothers in Arms, Intuition, Adrenaline Rush, and Firefighting. That would be my recommended if you're taking BIA4. So there's a look at my crew skills, my equipment build out, my consumables, and my ammo, and how much of each ammo I take. See you on the battlefield. Happy hunting.